Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Wasim Khan, an instructor for your course, Human Resource Management. Welcome back to the second part of the lecture. In the first part of this lecture, we have discussed the training, different types of training, and different methods that we can use for our training employees. In the second part of the lecture, we will discuss management development programs. It's not easy to tell where training leaves off and management development begins. The management development, however, tends to emphasize long-term development and a focus on developing current or future managers. Management development is any attempt to improve managerial performance by imparting knowledge, changing attitudes, or increasing skills. The management development process consists of assessing the company's strategic needs, for instance, to fill future executive openings or to boost competitiveness. The second one is appraising managers' current performance, and the third one is developing the managers and especially the future managers. As we have explained in the previous lectures, development is usually part of the employer's succession planning. Succession planning refers to the process through which a company plans for and fills senior level openings. Succession planning and management development both stem from the employer's strategy, vision, and personal plans. For example, strategies to enter new businesses or expand overseas imply that the employer will need managers who have the skills to manage these new businesses. Let's talk about the managerial on-the-job training. Managerial on-the-job training methods include job rotation, the coaching or understudy approach, and action learning. In the context of management development, job rotation means moving managers from department to department to broaden their understanding of business and to test their abilities. The trainee may be a recent college graduate and spend several months in each department learning the department's business by actually doing it. Or he or she may be a senior manager being groomed for further promotion by being exposed to a range of domestic and foreign challenges. Coaching and understudy approach, actually the trainee works directly with a senior manager or with the person he or she is to replace. Okay. So the latter is responsible for the trainee's coaching. Normally, the understudy relieves the executive of certain responsibilities, giving the trainee a chance to learn the job. And action learning programs give managers and others release time to work analyzing and solving problems in departments other than their own. So it's basically include carefully selected teams of 5 to 25 members, assigning the teams real world business problems that extend beyond their usual areas of expertise, and structured learning through coaching and feedback. The employer's senior managers usually choose the projects and decide whether to accept the team's recommendations. Let's talk about the off-the-job management training and development techniques. There are many off-the-job techniques for training and developing managers. Like the first one you can see on the screen is the case study method. So as most everyone knows, the case study method presents a trainee with a written description of an organizational problem, and the person then analyzes the case, diagnoses the problem, and present his or her findings and solutions in a discussion with other trainees. Management game. It is actually a computerized management games enable trainees to learn by making realistic decisions in simulated situations. Okay, for example, interpret is a team exercise that explores team communication, the management of information, and the planning and implementation of a strategy. So it raises management trainees' communication skills, helps them to better manage the information flow between the individuals and the team, and improves planning and problem solving skills. So with some games, trainees divide into teams actually, which compete in a simulated marketplace. Each team typically must decide, for example, how much to spend on advertising, or how much to produce, or how much inventory to maintain, or how many of which product to produce. So management games are effective, and people learn best by being involved in games, gain such involvement. They also help trainees develop their problem solving skills, and to focus attention on planning rather than just putting out fires. The groups also usually elect their own officers and organize themselves. So this can develop leadership skills and foster cooperation and teamwork. Uh, Another one is the outside seminars. So numerous companies and universities offer a web-based and traditional classroom management development seminars and conferences. The selection of 1 to 3 day training program offered by different organizations illustrates what is available. So these type of seminar help the trainees to understand about and to have some idea about different problems and their solutions. Another one is the role playing. The aim of role playing is to create a realistic situation and then have the trainees assume the parts or roles of specific persons in that situation. Okay, so when combined with the general instructions and other roles, role playing can trigger spirited discussions among the role player or trainees. The aim is to develop trainee skills in areas like leadership and delegation. For example, a supervisor could experiment with both a considerate and an autocratic leadership style, whereas in the real world, the person might not have the luxury of experimenting. It may also train someone to be more aware of and sensitive to others' feelings. Okay, another one is behavior modeling. So behavior modeling involves, three things. The first one is showing trainees the right or model a way of doing something. Okay. The second one is letting trainees practice that way. And the third one is then giving feedback on the trainee's performance. Behavior modeling training is one of the most widely used and well researched and highly regarded psychologically based training interventions. And the basic procedure of behavior modeling is, the first one is like modeling. First, trainees watch live or video examples showing models behaving effectively in a problem situation. Thus, the video might show a supervisor effectively disciplining a subordinate if teaching how to discipline is the aim of training program. The second one is role playing. The trainees are given roles to play in a simulated situation. Here they are to practice the effective behaviors demonstrated by the models. The third one is social reinforcement. The trainer here provides reinforcement in the form of praise and constructive feedback. And the last one is transfer of training. Finally, trainees are encouraged to apply their new skills when they are back on their jobs. Corporate universities. Many firms, particularly larger ones, establish in-house development centers, and we call those development centers the corporate universities. For example, General Electric, Caterpillar, and IBM are some of these examples. Such centers typically offer a catalog of courses and programs aimed at supporting the employer's management development needs. Employers often collaborate with academic institutions and with training and development program providers and web-based educational portals to create packages of programs and materials. Characteristics of effective corporate universities include the number one, aligning with corporate strategic goals. Number two, a focus on development of skills that support business needs. Number three is, like the evaluation of learning and performance. Number four can be using technology to support the learning. And the last one, can be partnering with academia. Another one is in-house development center. So that's what I have discussed with you. The next one is, executive coaches. Yes, this is also one of the, important technique. Many firms retain executive coaches to develop their top managers' effectiveness. An executive coach is an outside consultant who questions the executive's boss, peers, subordinates, and family in order to identify the executive strengths and weaknesses, and to consult the executive so he or she can capitalize on those strengths and overcome the weaknesses. So executive coaching can cost as much as, I'm giving you a rough value, a rough, a rough, I would say, price of $50,000, for example, per executive. So experts recommend using formal assessments prior to coaching to uncover strengths and weaknesses, and to provide more focused coaching. Okay, now let's move toward a very interesting topic. This topic is very interesting for me, by the way, and I hope this would be a very interesting topic for you as well. Managing organizational change problems. Okay, several years ago, I'll give you an example of Intel Corporation. So several years ago, Intel Corporation carried out a major reorganization that one writer says may have badly damaged employee development, morale, and the company's culture of innovation. So managing change is important in today's challenging environment. One of the professor, Edward Lawler, says that, he says that as more employees face rapid competitive change, focusing on strategy, organizational development, and organizational change is a high payoff activity for an HR organization. So what I'm want to tell you is that major organizational changes like these are never easy, but perhaps the hardest part of leading a change is overcoming the resistance to it. Individuals, groups, and even entire organization may resist the change, and perhaps because they are accustomed to the usual way of doing things, or because of like perceived threats to their influence, or some other reasons. So the question here is what to change. So I will you can see on the screen what to change. Okay, I would like to explain this topic with an example of a very good example of Nokia. So please listen to this example, and this will help you to understand this topic more easily and efficiently. Okay, the first question is, what should we change? What should we change? For example, a few years ago, Nokia was the worldwide leader in handsets and smartphones. Then Apple introduced its first iPhone. Within a year, Nokia's smartphone market share plummeted, and its sales increasingly relied on how low their handsets price are. By 2010, I think Nokia's board knew something had to be done. It appointed a new CEO with a Silicon Valley experience, Stephen Elop, I guess, and he knew Nokia faced pressing problems. Its smartphone share was down, and it was losing, low-cost handset business to Asian competitors. Nokia's research and development was behind the times. Its Symbian mobile operating system, I hope you remember this operating system, Symbian, or mobile operating system. We usually call it Symbian software. Okay, so its Symbian mobile operating system couldn't handle many of the leading applications that Apple's and Microsoft system could. So Nokia was too slow in executing strategic changes, and he had to jumpstart Nokia. Faced with situations like these, managers like Stephen Elop can change one or more of 5 aspects of their companies: their strategy, their culture, their structure, technologies, or attitudes, or skills of the employees. So, overcoming resistance to change. I would like to again explain this, thing with an example of the Nokia, and you will easily understand the resistances and the Levin's change process. Okay, the psychologist Kurt Levin formulated a model to summarize what he believed was the basic process for implementing a change with minimal resistance. To Levin, all behavior in organization was a product of 2 kinds of forces. Number one, those striving to maintain the status quo, and those pursue for change. Okay, so implementing change thus means producing the forces for the status quo, or building up the forces for change. And Levin's process consists of 3 main steps. The first one is unfreezing. Unfreezing means reducing the forces that are striving to maintain the status quo, usually by presenting a provocative problem or event to get people to recognize the need for change and to search for new solutions. The second one, is the moving. Moving means developing new behaviors, values, and attitudes. The manager may accomplish this through organizational structure changes, through conventional training and development activities, and sometimes through the other organizational development techniques, like, such as team building, etc. We will discuss, by the way, these different steps of the living change process in the coming slides as well. So refreezing is the third one, and refreezing means building in the reinforcement to make sure the organization does not slide back into its former ways of doing things. Okay, so change initiatives, include the political campaign, like creating a coalition strong enough to support and guide the initiative. And you can see this thing in Pakistan, and almost all the throughout the world, you can see this thing, that a political campaign is very, usually important for, a change initiatives. And marketing campaign, like tapping into employees' thoughts and feelings, and also effectively communicating messages about the prospective programs, themes, and benefits. Yeah, so that is the marketing campaign. These are, let me tell you something about the military campaign as well. Deploying executives scarce resources of attention and time to actually carry out the change. These are the three basic campaigns, that is the political campaign, or the marketing and military campaign. These are the, you can, everyone, I hope almost everyone in the world can see these types of the campaigns for, initiative change. Okay, let's talk about how to lead the change. Okay, so I'll again explain. I would like to explain this topic with an example of Nokia. Okay, so actually this topic is actually a leading organizational change. Okay, this topic means leading organizational change. Of course, the challenge is in the details. A CEO such as Nokia, Stephen Elliott, needs a process for leading such a change. And that process consists of the different stages, like we have discussed earlier. Okay, like the unfreezing and moving, and the refreezing stages. So I would like to explain these stages in the context of the case we are talking about. Now, so the first unfreezing stage consists of, establish a sense of urgency. Okay, most managers start by creating a sense of urgency. This often requires creativity. For example, the CEO might present executives, with I would say, a factious analysis report describing the firm's imminent demise. Okay, the next one is, okay, in unfreezing stage, we have these two things. The first one is a sense of urgency, and the second one is mobilized commitment through joint diagnosis of problems. Having established a sense of urgency, the leader may then create one or more task force to diagnose the problems facing the company. Such teams can produce a shared understanding of what they can and must improve, and thereby mobilize commitment. Okay, the second stage is, the moving stage, and moving stage consists of creating a building coalition, develop and communicate a shared vision, and help employees to make the change. But I will explain all of these three one by one. Okay, let's move toward creating a guiding coalition. No one can, really implement major organizational change alone. Okay, most CEOs create a guiding coalition of influential people. So they work together as a team to act as missionaries and implementers. Okay, another one in the moving stage is developing, and communicating a shared vision. Your organizational renewal may require communicating a new vision. For example, Stephen Elliott vision was to streamline Nokia moving fast to build advanced smartphones based on the Microsoft operating systems. So guideline here are keeping it simple, use multiple forums, and lead by example. Okay, and the fifth the fifth or the third step of the moving stage is to help employers make the change. Okay, it is the sixth. Actually, I have divided these steps, some of these steps into two, so you can see here. Moving stage consists of here four stages. The first one is developing a shared communicate the um, vision, help employees to make the change. Okay, there are impediments to change. Does a lack of skills stand in the way? Do policies, procedures, or the firm's organizations make it difficult to act? Do intrinsic excuse me, do intransigent managers discourage employees from acting? And if so, address the impediments. For example, LF quickly replaced many of Nokia's top and mid-level managers. Uh, Okay, another one is to consolidate gains and produce more change. This is within the moving stage. This is the last point in the moving stage. And aim for attainable short-term accomplishments. Use the credibility from these to change the remaining systems, structures, and policies that don't feel well with the company's new vision. And now let's move toward the refreezing stage. Okay, refreezing stage consists of two basic stages actually. Reinforce the new ways of doing things with changes to the company's systems and procedures. For example, use new appraisal systems and incentives to reinforce the desired behaviors. Reinforce the new culture by ensuring that the firm's managers role model the company's new values. Okay, so and the last one is to finally the leader must monitor and adjust as well as assess the progress. In brief, this involves comparing whether the where the companies is today with where it should be based on measurable milestones. At Nokia, for instance, how many new products has the company introduced? What is our smartphone and handset market shares? So this was actually some of the steps of how to lead the change, and these are 10 steps you can see on the screen. Was actually divided by me into three different stages. Okay, the first was unfreezing stage, the second was moving stage, and the third was a refreezing stage. Okay, so I explained actually this whole process with an example of Nokia, and I hope you understood this particular topic. If you don't, then you can please contact me through my email, which is available at the last slide of this presentation. Now let's move toward using or organizational development. One of the most important topics, obviously. Uh, there are many ways to reduce resistance to change. Among the many suggestions are that managers impose rewards or sanctions that guide employee behaviors, explain why the change is needed, and negotiate with employees, give inspirational speeches, or ask employees to help design the change. Organizational development actually taps into the employees to help design the change. Organizational development is a change process through which employees formulate the change that is required and implement it, often with the assistance of trained consultants. So organizational development has several characteristics, that you can see on the screen. It usually involves action research, which means collecting data about a group, department, or organization and feeding the information back to the employees so that they can analyze it and develop hypotheses about what the problems might be. And it also applies behavioral science knowledge to improve the organization's effectiveness. And it change the organization in a particular direction, like toward empowerment, improve problem solving, responsiveness, quality of work, and effectiveness. So there are four basic categories of organizational development applications. Here you can see on the screen. The first one is human process. Then we can have the techno-structural, and the third one is the human resource management. And the last one is strategic applications. So let's discuss each of these four one by one. Okay. Okay, I'll explain it, okay, and then you have to listen to it carefully, please. Okay, let's come to the human process application first. The goal of the human process organizational development technique is to give employees the insight and skills required to analyze their own and others' behavior more effectively so that they can solve interpersonal and intergroup problems. These problems might include, for instance, conflict among employees. Okay, applications here include sensitive training, team building, and survey research. Okay, so sensitivity laboratory or T group, T is actually for training. Okay, training's basics aim is to increase the participants' insight into his or her own behavior by encouraging an open expression of feelings in the trainer guide, training group. So typically 10 to 15 people meet, usually away from the job, with no specific agenda. Instead, the focus is on the feelings and emotion of the members in the group at the meeting. The facilitator encourages participants to portray themselves as they feel within the group rather than in terms of past behaviors. So the T group success depend on the feedback each person gets from the others and on the participants' willingness to be candid. So T group training is controversial. Yeah, it's strange, but yes, it is what it is. Its personal nature suggests that participation should be voluntary. Some view it as unethical because you can't consider participation suggested by one's superior as voluntary. Similarly, some practitioners have T group trainees take personality tests, for instance, assigning them letters such as D for dominance and C for consciousness. Okay, others argue that it can be dangerous if led by an incompetent trainer. Okay, now let's move toward the technostructural interventions. Organizational development practitioners also get involved in changing firm structures, methods, and job designs using an assortment of technological or technostructural interventions. For example, um, okay, in a formal structural change program, the employees collect data on the company's existing organizational structure. They then jointly redesign and implement a new one. Okay, so this was actually a technostructural intervention. Another one is human resource management applications. You can see on this screen that this is actually the third one. Organization development practitioners use action research to enable employees to analyze and change their firm's human resources practices. Targets of change here might include the performance appraisal and reward system, as well as installing diversity programs. And the last one is, yes, strategic organizational development applications. So strategic intervention, aim to use action research to improve a company's strategic management. Integrated strategic management is one example. And it consists of 4 steps actually. Managers and employees. The first one is analyze current strategy and organization structure. Then choose a desired strategy and organization structure, and design a strategic change plan as well. And finally, the team oversees implementing the strategic change and reviewing the results. Okay, so this was all about the organizational development interventions and their examples. I hope you understood these things as well. That's the end of the lecture, and I hope you understood. If you don't, so you can please ask me if you have any question regarding my lectures on my email or through my email, learnwithwasim@gmail.com. And I would recommend you to please follow or subscribe my YouTube channel and Facebook page, so that other students can also get help from these online lectures. My page, actually the title of my page and channel name is Learn with Wasim. You can see here the logo of my YouTube and Facebook pages. Okay, Learn with Wasim. Okay, thank you, and bye-bye.